You remind me of a that I once knew. I kinda cringe whenever I think of you. Wouldn't believe all of the she put us through, and that's why I just can't fuck with you.
Ta valise est prête, rends les choses faciles, et sèche-moi ces larmes de crocodile.
We are back with another recap for this week's week of The Bachelor season 29. We are on week 4. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please take a moment to subscribe now. So let's get into it. Okay, so this week they all are going on a trip to Madrid. I want to say something that stood out to me. Did you guys notice that Grant looked very different this week? He looked exhausted or emotionally drained, and maybe he was jet lagged or something, and also he looked kind of sad. But then also I feel like he looked cuter. Did you guys notice that? As soon as they get to Madrid, Dina has a one-on-one date with Grant. They play soccer a little bit and just kind of do little walk through the city and then get on a boat ride. Dina was not one of my favorites, but she started to grow on me during this date. As she said about herself, she does seem very standoffish, like an ice queen. Okay, she said herself, she's like an ice queen. And she did open up on this date and say that she's not very emotionally open or expressive, because in her family they didn't really talk about emotions. And so they go to dinner, and I say dinner because have you guys noticed that they always have these sit down dinners and they never eat at the table? They discuss how she can be she says that she can be like an ice queen, but she opens up around certain people when she does feel comfortable. Her vibe is giving me her attachment style is very avoidant. You know what I mean? She's giving avoidant, and those kind of people can be tough nuts to crack, okay, to say the least. Like I said, Dina has grown on me. I like her a lot more than I did, and I understand her now because we got to see a one-on-one date. But I will say that I don't think that they are compatible, but I think that they do connect in a sense. I definitely feel a connection, but I feel like a friendship connection. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like they are compatible, but I think I mentioned that actually last week. But yeah, this week definitely so. I feel like both of them are great people, my opinion, but I just feel like they're not for each other. So at the end of the day, Grant does give her a rose. And then we get a scene, back at the house, and where the girls are kind of just sitting around, those clips. And of course, Carolina is there once again, moping and doping around. I literally can't deal with my girl. I can't deal with my girl, Carolina. Sometimes I'm rooting for her, but sometimes I'm bitch, get a grip. But then I feel like I'm like that with pretty much everybody at different points. So Carolina is moping and doping around, complaining that she feels as though she has not gotten enough one-on-one time with Grant, which, everybody is kind of irritated by that, because just last week she freaking went to Vegas with Grant on a private jet. So it's girl. So everybody is just kind of annoyed with her, and then she's sitting there moping around, acting all sad and being all annoying. The usual, okay, or the usual that I'm starting to realize she's just one of those people. And so they get a message about what the group date, that they're going to go on a group date, except for Serafina. She is going to go on a one-on-one date later on. On the group date, they meet up with Grant. They hop on these donkeys. Alex, essentially on a donkey. They ride down these cobblestone streets, and then they go and they are gonna ride bulls, okay? Not a real bull, but a mechanical bull. Carolina is in her little confessionals. She's lagging behind during the donkey ride. She's all in the back, all moping. She's one of these people where, depending on whatever mood they're in, they have to suck the energy out of the room. Whether they're happy or living their best life or have great news or whatever, that has to be the focus of the conversation. They have to talk about it all the time. But especially if they're sad or they're not getting their way or whatever it is, it's something negative, oh God, they have to mope about it. Even when they're not saying anything, they're sitting there it's almost as if they want you to ask are you okay? I was so triggered watching this episode because I've known multiple people like that in my life, and I was like so triggered. You know, I was like, you remind me of a bitch that I once knew. I kinda cringe whenever I think of you. Wouldn't believe all of the shit she put us through, and that's why I just can't fuck with you. You know, I don't know how to snap. Fun fact. So they do the mechanical bull riding challenge, which is like obviously very sexual. Like Alex is like a little like horn dog. Zoe actually ends up winning the challenge, and she's also growing on me, which I will get to later. So back at the villa, Grant talks to Parisa one-on-one and gives her some rocks, and I was just kind of like, she was very grateful for them. Some rocks and some pebbles and some crystals and stuff like that. Hate to see her coming. She loves a good rock. Okay, she loves a geode. My girl loves a geode. Rose and Grant actually chat one-on-one and discuss everything that happened the week before. And Rose is I feel like she is kind of mopey dopey, but also I understand she just embarrassed herself on national television. But they do kind of resolve it and squash it and move on, or so I thought. Okay, so let's talk about Zoe, my girl Zoe. Grant and Zoe talk one-on-one. Grant says that he wants to like get to know her more because he could feel like kind of like a wall up, and so she opens up about the fact that she grew up in the South. She and her sister were both adopted by her parents. She grew up around like in an area or went to school with like mostly or almost all, if not all, white people. I think she said that she's mixed, right? Like I think she might be biracial, and that she grew up around mostly white people. And so it was hard for her because she wasn't accepted by people, whether it was romantic interest or whether it was with friends. That made me so sad for her. I felt so bad about all this that I talked last week and the week before, and probably the week before too. I'm sorry, Zoe. I'm sorry, girl. That broke my heart. And especially like as a biracial person myself, like I understand the struggle. And I will say though, luckily for me, and this is a thing, don't get offended when I say this, I don't give a fuck, okay? I feel like biracial people, specifically people who are like half black and half white, I feel like the people who grew up in areas where it's like mostly white, I feel like it was harder for them. Like I grew up around people who I kind of grew up around like a mixture of people, but I grew up in an area where there were mostly black and brown people. And so I never, and don't get me wrong, okay, that came with its own like issues and struggles and things like that. But from what I understand, in my experience and my observation, I don't think that it can compare to a biracial person who grows up around like in a white area like that. And in the South, girl, she said that she, by most of her life, didn't feel worthy of being in a relationship, like, or having a boyfriend, or let alone friendship. This whole thing with Zoe explains so much, you guys. It explains why she's so like socially awkward. When she did mention that she was insecure about the fact that, you know, she felt like I'm not bubbly and fun in like a certain way like the other girls. Like I'm not like the other girls because she has always been othered her whole freaking life. And that made me so sad for her. And like, Zoe, I'm sorry for making fun of you, girl. I get it now. You're not one of my top girls, no offense, but as a person, like I see you and I totally understand. Okay, so Carolina, of course, continues to suck every freaking molecule of oxygen out of the air, talking about how she feels like she doesn't really know Grant and she's not getting enough time with him. She's unsure about Grant and about this whole thing because she's not getting enough time with him. And it's like, bitch, in the real world, like I understand what you're saying, but when you're on The Bachelor, like what do you think is going to happen? You think that every single day, like you're going to get a date with him every single day, you're going to spend time? Like, girl, if you wanted that, like go on Love Island. So then Juliana takes it upon herself to pull Carolina to the side. Juliana wanted to sit her down and be like, so, you know, Me and the girls just feel like you're being kind of like ungrateful. Carolina just basically asked Juliana why she thinks that it's in her place to talk to her about that. And I have to agree. And so that conversation went absolutely nowhere. So the next day, Serafina and Grant go out on their one-on-one date. And so they go somewhere to go jump off a freaking bridge. Literally. It looked kind of cool, kind of cute, but it did make me cringe after they like jumped off. And then Grant was like, okay, now kiss me. Have you guys noticed that he does that a lot? Where he'll be like, I'm glad that we discussed this. Like, okay, like, let's kiss every single time. And sometimes I feel like he does that before the conversation's even like it's ending. It's almost over and almost that appropriate time to go in for a kiss, but he kind of jumps the gun. Grant, I love you, but you're kind of doing a lot in that department. Later on, Serafina and Grant go on a dinner date where they pretend to eat dinner. So during this date, they did discuss how Serafina had mentioned that growing up, she was kind of like insecure about the fact that she grew up without a father, and that she says that she was kind of like insecure or embarrassed about that, even though, you know, she has a great relationship with her mom and her mom did a great job. It kind of made her realize like what she wants for her own children. And so they connect on that. At the end, they share a kiss. Their vibe together is like so. Did you guys notice that? They have a lot of friendship chemistry and they have a lot of like sexual chemistry. I will say that after this date, Serafina is one of my top girls. So later, Grant is talking to Natalie one-on-one and Rose begins to crash out. Rose is basically freaking out, thinking that she may go home today because she's not getting that like one-on-one time. And so she does call out Carolina and she's like, you backstabbed me, by telling Grant about their conversation. And in a way, like I get what Rose is trying to say, but at the same time, it's like, Rose, why the fuck would you say that in the first place? Take that on the chin and move on, okay? But she's not doing that. She starts freaking out. She's like, you backstabbed me. You did me dirty. Like very that, and it's creepy. She like runs out, like starts like hyperventilating and stuff. It's like, Rose, I love you, but get him in grip, okay? So then she goes to freaking Grant, crashes out in front of him, and she's like, you know, I just feel like I should leave. And it was funny because Grant didn't even try to stop her. He was just like, okay, like, I understand. He didn't even fake try to stop her, not even as a courtesy. He was just like, okay, I understand. Next thing you know, a van is pulling up and taking her to the freaking airport. And it was funny. I was like, well, damn. So they have the rose ceremony and Grant announces that Rose had left. I don't think anybody really gave a fuck. The girls who went home this week were Parisa and Natalie. And then Parisa, I was actually shocked that she went home because Grant just gave her those freaking rocks and made her kick rocks. What was that about? This is my conspiracy theory, breaking the fourth wall. I feel like maybe he was going to send home Natalie and Rose that night, but Rose already went home on her own. And so production was probably like, well, you still have to send two people home. And so that's why he chose Parisa. And Parisa, she's so cute. I love her. Like, they can never make me hate her. She's like crying, like, maybe did I talk about rocks too much? And it was just so cute. She's adorable. I love her. I would love to see Parisa again, like on some sort of like spin-off show. Like, I don't want this to be the last of Parisa. I love her. I love her personality. I love her vibes. I love her quirkiness. Like I said, you know, Natalie went home. I guess the positive thing with that is that we will no longer confuse Natalie with Dina. And I came up with a conspiracy theory. As a hairdresser, I look at Dina's hair and I'm like, please part that shit in the middle. Like, please part it in the middle. And I am not against the side part. The side part is cute, but I feel like on her, she has to part it in the freaking middle. And I just kept wondering, like, why the fuck does she keep parting her hair on the side? And so I came up with a conspiracy theory. I have a conspiracy theory that production told Dina that she has to part her hair on the side so that way people can tell her and Natalie apart. You know what? Next week, let's see if Dina starts parting her hair on the middle now. So that is it for this episode. If I'm not here, I am elsewhere on the internet, although this week I did just deactivate my Instagram, but I might activate it again because I'm kind of having FOMO. But find me on TikTok because I've been like obsessed with TikTok lately, okay, and uploading like consistently. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys liked it, and then you guys will see me in my next. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Unrealistic.